Santos Escobar has left WWE. He was a free agent as of midnight last night or this morning, depending on how you tell time. WWE sources, this is from Fightful Select. WWE sources say that Santos' deal will be up at midnight. The company has made attempts to re-sign him, but he passed on the offers. Apparently, he was offered more money or similar money as before, but he wanted creative, essentially. He wanted to kind of have an idea of what he was going to do because, as we have seen with Santos over the past few months, he has not done anything. And as we've seen with Santos over the past few years, he kind of just does something for a month or two and then does nothing and is off television with Legado del Fantasma. He wanted a more concrete plan with what his plans were going to be. They could not give that to them because they don't give plans to anybody. And he was like, all right, well, that doesn't work for me, brother. And now he is a free agent. What do you think of Santos moving on?
This isn't surprising. I think that it's been telling. His social media activity, of course, most notably him putting out that tweet following Andrade's debut at AEW was like the big indication that something was going on here. So not that surprising that his contract came up so soon. I am surprised that he turned down what probably was a good money deal, but he cares more about what he's doing creatively. He wants to be fulfilled and used in a meaningful way, in a consistent way as well. And I think that the pro wrestling world has so much opportunity out there for someone who's as talented as Santos Escobar and who doesn't have kind of the dark cloud that follows Andrade after his departures from certain places. Santos Escobar was a model employee for WWE during his entire run. I really, most of us who are fans of his really became fans of his during his run in NXT. And I thought that he had one of the best introductions in NXT at that time because of the whole plan that they had and the whole debut that they had with introducing him in his original form of El del Fantasma and then changing him into Santos Escobar. And once he took off the mask, I was like, why did this guy have a mask to begin with? This guy is gorgeous. Like he should have just been making money off of him in Mexico, like taking off his mask instead of keeping the mask on him to keep with the family lineage. But that's how Mexico works. But WWE was wise to take the mask off of him. I thought that initial introduction was really well done. I don't think they ever really fulfilled the potential of Santos Escobar, even at the NXT level, because of the way they introduced him and the run he had with the Cruiserweight Championship and the memorable moments and matches that he had with Legado del Fantasma over the next 2 years in NXT. That's a guy that should have been at least a North American champion, let alone he should have probably been challenging for the NXT championship. But I don't remember, other than a brief feud with Karrion Kross before Karrion Kross went for his second run as NXT champion. I don't remember Santos even getting close to the main event picture in NXT, and that feels like a missed opportunity. When they brought him to the main roster, I thought they very quickly did not know what they had here, and he came up in a kind of the transition period of going from Vince to Triple H in charge now, and he made the transition of pairing Legado up with Rey Mysterio and bringing in LWO. But LWO initially felt hot during that whole rivalry of Rey and Dominic and them feuding with the Judgment Day, and they were selling t-shirts like gangbusters, but it was quite obvious this was just a nostalgia pull to make some money by WWE, and they had no intention of elevating anyone in Legado del Fantasma, let alone Santos Escobar. We did get a light at the end of the tunnel when he turned on Rey in 2023, but that push lasted about a month. And then they completely dropped the ball on it. And Santos was pretty much not as over as he was initially as a heel by the time we get to WrestleMania and he teams with Dom against Andrade and Rey Mysterio, where he's probably like the fourth most important guy in that whole matchup. And then after WrestleMania 40, don't get me started, he's been booked horribly the last 18 months. Like the last 18 months, if it's not him against LA Knight, I don't remember what he did. But
Yeah.
outside of like the Lucha Libre AAA events, where I was surprised when they got a win at the first Worlds Collide, because I was like, you guys never win anything. When you're on TV, you're here to lose. That is what Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma had been booked to become and perceived by the fans. So it really feels like it was a whole entire run. And I just talked about 5 years of him in WWE in like less than 5 minutes. That's an issue for someone as talented as Santos Escobar. He should have been doing a lot more, and it just feels like a total missed opportunity from NXT run to main roster run for him.
The fact that they had no real, I mean, they haven't had plans with him for a while, but them having no plans after the heel turn, and you mentioned it, he came off as the fourth most important person in that tag team match. Like that heel turn was very hot and should have led to something bigger. And it didn't, because they've dropped the ball on a lot of heel turns over the years, as we've seen. And Santos was one of them. He should have been a bigger player. I don't know why he wasn't. Outside of, they've never been good at cultivating the next Mexican star.
No.
Never. It's always been,
Never.
oh, the next Rey Mysterio, the next Rey, and then they've done actually nothing to build up the next Rey Mysterio, because they still have Rey Mysterio, and that's the problem.
Because what a lot of people don't mention, Jeremy, about all of this when WWE talks about this, they didn't do Rey Mysterio very well at all either. Like when your whole basis of we need the next Rey Mysterio, you're saying it as if you actually did a great job of building up Rey Mysterio and making him a star. Rey Mysterio is a star in pro wrestling despite how WWE booked him sometimes. Like, that is the issue, I think, in general, with the whole misconception of we need to find the next Rey Mysterio. We need to find the next Latin star. You need to book him like Eddie Guerrero, not Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, when they brought in Rey, like it was hot because Rey was hot, but you know he only got the title, unfortunately, because Eddie passed, and then they've treated him as a big deal throughout the years. I mean, now with the longevity and everything, he is a legend, and you know they call him the greatest mask of all time and everything. But because they still have Rey, it doesn't feel like they are in any type of real rush to get the next Rey. And it's going to end up being Dominic anyway, because Dominic is he's at that level at this point. But for years, I mean, how many people have they tried this with over the years of, oh, we got the next Rey, we got the next big Mexican
Alberto
superstar.
Patron.
Yep.
Andrade.
Yep.
Santos Escobar. I'm missing some of
You
the in-betweens, but those are the major ones. Those
You
are
could
the
throw
big
in
three.
you could throw in like a Dragon Lee and people
Dragon
like that.
Lee, which they've done they did horrible with him.
Yeah,
Trying to think who else.
They tried this with a lot of people.
Mystico, Sin Cara.
Yeah, Sin Cara,
yeah. Kalisto.
Yep. Yeah, they tried this with a lot of people, and they can never get it right, because what makes Rey great is that he kind of built his reputation elsewhere.
Yeah.
And he was already a legend coming in from WCW. He already had, he was a big deal coming from WCW. And I think that time period between WCW and WWE actually helped his stock with everything. And then so they treated him like a big deal. And then when he was part of SmackDown, he came off like a big deal. But they don't know how to, like you said, they didn't book Rey great. It's just people loved Rey because they loved Rey. And they just think that, oh, well, they're going to love this person now, no matter what we do with them. It's like, no, you've actually got to, do something with them.
I think
you can't do the stop and start stuff.
I think it also comes down to WWE not remembering what got Rey over the way that he did. Like, a lot of it was he was over despite what WWE is doing. But when he first comes into the company, they had him working with someone he knew very well in Chavo Guerrero, was his debut matchup. But his first main feud, his first pay-per-view matchup is against Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist. Then they put him in the mix with the SmackDown 6, where he's working with Kurt, with Chavo, with Eddie Guerrero, with Chris Benoit, with Edge. He's having stellar matches with those guys for the next 6 months. Then you go into 2003, he's in the cruiserweight division, and he's really the centerpiece of the cruiserweight division. He's the main star. Like Matt Hardy was the main heel, and it built up to him beating him for the title. But then after he wins the title, he's like the centerpiece of everything that is the SmackDown cruiserweight division, and he's able to have good to great matches with the likes of Billy Kidman and Matt Hardy and Tajiri and whoever they put him in the ring with. He was able to show out. Then from there, he got into teaming up with Eddie Guerrero towards like the end of 2004, and then the Eddie Guerrero rivalry in 2005. Like they always put him in a position where he either had a title, had a story, or was working with one of the top workers or top stars in the promotion. Can we say that they did that with Andrade and Santos when they get called up to the main roster? Yes, they've had matches. You know, Andrade got to face, Bryan Danielson in his first run. You have Santos. He got to work with Rey Mysterio in his first program on the main roster. But after those initial bright points, highlights, they usually are positioned at the bottom of the card, at the lower card, working with the lower card workers, which define them down, which makes it impossible to ever take them seriously of being a top star. Mind you, you don't have the best history with Hispanic stars in general, so it's going to take a lot for us to even take them seriously, mixing it up with the main event scene. But if you don't even try to put them in the main event scene, then it's just an endless loop of, okay, this one's the next Latino star. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, this one's the next Latino star. It's just an endless loop of what WWE's going through because they don't take the proper steps.
Santos could have been one of their top heels on SmackDown too. I truly believe that. He was a good talker. He obviously has a good look. He's obviously very good in the ring. After the Rey feud, he could have been one of their top heels. At least a guy that was consistently in the picture. I mean, I don't know if he's really going to win the world title or anything. Why couldn't he have been the U.S. champion during that time? I know he had the feud with LA Knight. Why couldn't he have been the U.S. champion? Like, consistently in that picture. It feels like he could have. Why couldn't he have been in effectively, and we know why, effectively the Solo Sikoa spot? Why couldn't he have been in that picture there? And they just, Triple H, he turns people heel and then he has no idea what to do with them as heels. And that's kind of been his MO in a lot of ways. But they didn't really give him a chance after the heel turn. And I don't blame him for not taking the money and wanting the creative. I've said this before because he's not the first instance to leave over. Yeah, the money offer was good, but I want to know what I'm doing a little bit. These people are creative people. Pro wrestling is like one of the ultimate creative outlets because there are really no bounds with what you can do, whether it be in the ring, whether it be vignettes, whether it be promos. It's a whole canvas you can paint on. And a lot of these people get into wrestling because they are creative people and they don't have these limits and constrictions. So it shouldn't surprise anybody when these guys are like, yeah, I want to know what I'm doing creatively. I want to be able to tell my story and paint my picture and everything. And if you can't give me that, well, I'll go elsewhere to do that. Even if the money is good, I've made money. I mean, he's made money from WWE, and he can still get money elsewhere, whether it be the independents, whether it be another company, but maybe he can release his creative outlet a little bit more elsewhere. So it shouldn't shock anybody when these wrestlers are like, yeah, I want to go elsewhere to help with my creative juices because I'm a very creative person.
And I think it's also telling, and I think, Sean's tweet last night kind of indicated that we are seeing it more often now of these contract negotiations being that the performer feels that WWE is not giving them enough money, it's not substantial enough. And we had consecutive of this instance happening with Karrion Kross in August, Jazmyn Nix last month, and now we got Santos Escobar. And what Sean said in his tweet is like, there may be more coming. So is this an indication of TKO kind of taking over with the business practices that we've been seeing in UFC now spilling over into the WWE, of if you're not the top of the top performers, you're not going to be getting the amount of money that you feel like your spot on the card dictates. And it also is an indication to me, like you said, bringing up the creative side of things, is when Triple H first took over as head of creative, we heard a lot of the top stars like your Drew McIntyres, your CM Punks, your Roman Reigns talk about how there was some freedom now with the creative process, that they can put more of their input, that is more of a collaboration. I now kind of pay attention to the fact that all the instances that we had of those people saying that type of thing, it was only the top stars. It was never a guy on the level of a Santos Escobar. It's never a guy on the level of a Carmelo Hayes. It's never those guys that need that creative freedom to find a character, to find a connection with the fans, to build upon that and to build themselves and elevate up the card. Those are never the guys that are in these interviews that are saying, oh, now I have this creative freedom where I can find that connection. I can do the things that I have to. It's only the top stars. And now 3 years into this regime, we're starting to see like the kind of the consequence, the result of all of that. If you're not giving them the creative freedom, if you're not giving them the right amount of money, these people are going to choose to leave, because the wrestling world is a lot different than it was back in 2018, 2019.
There have been other stars of who have said there's been more creative in WWE with Triple H. Some lower people. I mean, Kross is a guy who has said like he had a little bit more creative freedom. He was allowed to do.
I know that was one of the only people I was thinking of, and he's not with the company, so I couldn't mention him.
Yeah, fair. People. I mean, I don't know how, if you want to quantify Bayley as a tip.
Bayley's a top star. She's not like a tippy top star, but she's definitely closer to the top than the lower card.
Oh, certainly. I mean, lower card is, lower card, they're never going to get all of that creative freedom. It doesn't matter where you're at, honestly. Like, the top people typically get the more creative freedom when it comes to that. I have heard Natalya is another one who says, Triple H, there's a little bit more creative freedom with this. And then, again, you look at the example. I get it. Natalya says it, and then she wants to do Natty Neidhart and isn't allowed to do Natty Neidhart. Yes, no, I get it.
It's like you're naming examples of people that are not given the creative. They will say it. They can say it all fine and dandy, but we're not seeing any examples of that at all.
No, I 100% agree with you that there's, just because they say it, it feels like they're saying it to basically be like, oh yeah, we do. Triple H does listen to us, but then we actually don't get to do those ideas on television. When it comes to somebody like Escobar and guys on his level, those guys have never gotten the sort of creative freedom because they are at that level. It always is that the top guys get the more leeway when it comes to that stuff. We get to the lower card, mid card people. Maybe they get to pitch different things. Chelsea is another example. Chelsea gets a lot of stuff through and has talked about, she has more creative freedom and everything. But at the end of the day, if Triple H or the booking team, the 800 writers they have, don't want to do anything with you, it doesn't matter how much creative freedom you actually have or think you have. If they don't want to put you on the show, they're not going to put you on the show. That's just how it works. It doesn't matter how much stuff you're pitching. If they don't have a spot to use you at, they're not going to use you. And that's where they're at with Santos. They didn't see anything where they felt they had a spot for him. And should they have? Yes, but they didn't. And so they didn't use him though, because
But
it's
like
like,
he
oh,
checks all the boxes
he
that you would
does.
want from a top Latino star. You're the top Latino star. You want him to be good looking. He checks that box. You want him to have a good look. Checks that box. You want him to be a great in-ring worker who can work as both a babyface and a heel. He can do that. You want him to be good at talking and not have the heavy accent that such stars as Alberto or Andrade have had in the past. He doesn't have that. He speaks better than any Latino star that I think I've seen in WWE. He could be the leader of a faction. He could be a top main event star. He has that type of look to him. He checked every box. Maybe his height didn't check or clear that box for WWE standards. But when it came to everything else that you would look from a top guy, a main event star, Santos checked it. And the fact that it ends in this fashion, I think is another hit to the fan perception of WWE right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know how you don't have a spot for Santos Escobar. I really don't. Because as you mentioned, he checks a lot of different boxes. And he checks boxes that this is no knock on Karrion Kross, who got himself over and did well in the vignettes and everything. Escobar's better in the ring than Kross. And he has the intangible of being a Mexican star, which you would think you would want to get out there a little bit more. But I mean, look who this company's associated with at the top, so maybe they don't want to do that. You know, he has something different than Karrion Kross. Not a knock on Kross. Kross is a white dude. They got plenty of white dudes out there.
Well, Kross Puerto Rican, so
okay. Fair. You know, like you would think somebody like Escobar would be someone you want to put out there and promote, and they just didn't. But they do this with a lot of people. They do this with a ton of people, and it's not a surprise that people want to leave. I mean, I know Sean mentioned Kross, Jazmyn, and Escobar leaving. They all left for different reasons. I don't think that it's fair to, and I don't think Sean was doing this, to quantify of like, oh, it was all money related, because it wasn't. It's literally all of them were different reasons than money. Kross said he wanted to stay. Kross has made it very clear he wanted to stay. The problem is he wanted to at least negotiate a little.
He wanted to get an evaluation on the amount that they were offering him, and they were like, nope, it's first come, first serve, and basically pulled the offer. Jazmyn Nix was getting offered.
That was money related.
Yeah, she was getting offered what a postman makes in the mail store near me, for to be a WWE superstar. Basically, that was money related. And then Santos Escobar, it was more about what they were going to do with him creatively, because they were offering him the same amount of money that he would have been happy to take.
Yeah, so it's different reasons that these people are leaving, and yeah, we shouldn't quantify it as just money. And look, it might be other people might be leaving soon. I know Sean has hinted at it with other people potentially leaving. We'll find out more and why they might be leaving when and if that time comes. But it's not always money related, and I don't think everybody should think that it's always money related, because as I was saying, like, these people are creative people. They want to know sort of what the creative is, and can they put that out there to the world? Can they paint their picture? And if they can't, then they can go elsewhere to do that, where they will have the creative freedom. I think Santos will have plenty of options. You know, maybe he goes back to Mexico. I think AEW would be smart to get him up. I assume he just joins the Don Callis family, because Don Callis signs everybody.
Because why not? Because that's the gimmick now. Just sign everybody. If you sign Andrade, might as well sign Santos. I made the comparison, though. They are just building a basketball team. That's all they're doing.
It's a football team at this point.
No, it's a basketball team, because they have plenty of people on IR. So it's basketball team. We got 9 active. I already played. I tweeted it out and everything. They needed a all-star point guard, so that's why they signed Andrade. Andrade is the point guard. 2 guard, because he feels like more of a wing player, is Kyle Fletcher. The 3, the wing player, LeBron James type, that's Konosuke Takeshita, of course. Then you could the front court you can kind of play around with. If you want the size, of course you would put like Lance Archer at the 5 and maybe Okada at the 4. But if you want to play small, if you want to play small ball and run up the court, run up the score, you could put Okada at the 5. I think Okada, he's got the wingspan. He could guard some of these centers in the paint, and he could pull them. He could stretch the floor and hit some threes from the outside at the 5 position, and put your PJ Tucker like power forward in Josh Alexander at the 4, and he'll get some rebounds, get some scores inside. So. And then you got coming off the bench, 6 man, you got Hechicero, because he can guard all 5 positions. Imagine Kyrie trying to cross him up, and he just like this. Kyrie all confused, like, I thought the earth was flat. It's going round and round. Then you got El Clone, he could be backup 2. You got Rocky Romero, he's the Derek Fisher type, backup 1. And then you got Lance Archer off the bench, backup center. So those are the active, because Trent is TBD. Trent is to be announced.
Trent's coming back. Yeah, Trent's coming back.
He's coming back, but he's TBD. He's TBD for tonight's game. It's Title Tuesday. It's tonight's game. He's TBD for tonight's game. On the IR, you got Brian Cage, you got Mark Davis, and you got Wardlow.
Yeah, they're missing their front court. And their whole front court's on the IR.
That's why they gotta play small ball. That's why they gotta play Okada at 6'4" at the center position, because they got no centers. They got Lance Archer, but they want to run up the score a little bit before they put him.
They should make a trade for. I mean, they had this guy and they let him go. They should get Hobbs back. Hobbs, they get bully ball Hobbs in there. Yeah, then it's a team. Man.
Then you put Josh off the bench. Josh would be a great bench guy. You put Powerhouse Hobbs at the 4 or at the 5. Oh, it's a wrap. He's bullying everybody.